There were no external wounds, Dan says, as if it really was a mind-affecting spell. Then it must have been one similar to the spell that the ogre shaman cast on us in the fort, where you get killed inside your own mind if it weren't careful. The spell researchers who analyzed the traces of the spell could not find a match for any of the known spells, however, so they've claimed. I don't know if the organizers are trying to hide something or not, Darren Hardrick says, but the fact of the matter is the elf has somehow managed to seize the title of the Sage of the East, and a lot of people are unhappy with this turn of event. I'm not really sure how he did it, but Selgrud did kill one of the strongest mages of our time with minimal effort, so he will most certainly be a force to reckon with. What about the Sage of the South? Plover says. The Sage of the South is the one I fought 14 years ago, Noldren says. Stood no chance against him in the competition. Even to this day, he remains undefeated. It never really looked like anyone had posed any serious threat to him since he took the title away from me. The man is a renowned dragon hunter that name by the name of Drake's Bane. I'm not sure what his real name is, but that's what everyone calls him now, due to the large number of dragon heads that he has in his collection. Dragons are something of a legend these days, mostly because they mostly stay hidden and no longer attack villages like they used to in the past, but Drake's Bane goes to hunt them in their own territory as a sport. A lot of people like to pretend that dragon heads he brings home belongs to Varens instead, in order to keep believing that dragons do not exist. But I don't think that anyone who's actually seen one of those heads up close would fool themselves into believing such nonsense. There is a very clear difference between a Varen's head and a dragon's head, and the difference would be obvious to anyone who is not being willfully ignorant. All of a sudden we hear few loud beeps coming from Layla's pocket, also from mine. We both take out our stat device at the same time and see that now have 3 extra stats to invest in my stats. Sure, let's invest right now. Now these things are like completely out of my thing at the moment. So I either want to go for combat technique, premonition, or toughness. Everything else is pretty good. I could max out strength, but I don't know. We rarely get like 4 strength or like 4 point of checkpoints anyway, and I just got a strength one, so highly doubt would get one. I think I'm gonna go all toughness because the latest things were strength and combat technique, so I'm guessing it's either going to be premonition or toughness that is going to be coming up in the early one. Next one, I'm gonna go with toughness. Right, so it's gonna be continue then. Did you also get 3 points? I asked Layla. Yeah, I put them all in my reflexes, Layla writes as we both put our stat devices back in our pocket. Were there fortune teller trinkets? Norton asked, confused. Indeed they were, I say. They're not using them for fortune telling, Darren says. They're using them for magically enhancing their physical abilities. I know that's a little hard to believe, but I've seen it with my own eyes, so I can confirm that it's true. Interesting, Norton says. I always thought that those devices were nothing more than toys, but I guess I was mistaken. How well do they work? Depends on your actual physical fitness, Dalton says. If you're weaker, then you're going to get less effect out of that stat device. I see, Dalton says. So, what have you been up to these past few years? Darren asks his old master. I've been hearing rumors that you've started doing mercenary work, but I'm not sure if they are true or not. Oh, they were true, alright. Oh, if he's a mercenary, he's definitely under the dragon. I'm guessing he's working for the dragon. Noldren says, losing my sage title so soon after I'd earned it in such a spectacular fashion weren't exactly very good for my business. People started to think that I was just some washed up old man, and they gradually began to look for other enchanting and martial arts master. There's no shortage of those in certain continent after all, so when people started coming to me for teach them, I decided that my talents would be better used elsewhere. You see, when you're doing mercenary work, no one is going to care about your reputation. They just need you to get the job done. It might not be the most ideal career, but it puts food on the table. I'm so sorry, Darren says. I did not know that it's been so rough for you these past few years. I should have at least left your transceiver to keep in touch. Don't be sorry, Noldren says. We all have our ups and downs, it's the way of life. But like I said, at least this tournament has provided me the opportunity to change my life for the better. That's what we're all here, isn't it? To try and change our lives for the better. Actually, Darren says, the reason why I'm here, why I came here is that, not that I want to interrupt you or anything, Araka says, but Illuna told me to let you all know when there's enemies trying to surround us. And just so happens, this is exactly what's happening right now. Let's speak again. Is it monsters? Again, Darren asks. Yeah, monsters, Araka says. More than there were last time. They're all suppressing their auras again, but I can recognize the orc, the 2 ogres that got away from us last time, 2 days ago. They must have gone to get reinforcements. I don't sense the 2 goblin that bailed them out last time anymore, so they must have a lot more confidence in the chances of winning this time around. I'm counting at least 15 warriors, 5, holy shit, 5 mages, and actually, make that 17 warriors. 5 of them are ogres, including 2 from before, 12 of them are orcs, including their captain from the flaming battle axes. The 5 mages are a mixture of orcs, ogres, but no more goblins this time. Well, Master, Darren tells Noldren, I think there is time for you to go. These monsters have come here to kill our group specifically. So as long as you avoid them on your way back to your camp, they will most likely ignore you and focus on us. It's sad that this reunion had to be so short, but as long as we both participate in this tournament, I'm sure that our paths will cross again, assuming that we'll survive this battle, that is. What are you talking about, boy? Noldren says. Do you think I'm just going to run away and let my favorite disciple get killed off by some monsters mere minutes after we've been reunited once more? They aren't just any monsters, Darren says. There are the elite troops of the dragon who rules most of the monster races on this continent. It's not going to be an easy fight. Bah, Noldren says. You've said this before. Remember that time when we went to raid that cave full of ogres and trolls and we butchered them all within minutes? You were saying that it would be hard if I backed them too. That happened when I was barely 20 years old, Darren says. Gosh, now I remember I had only been training for several months. That was already our third monster hunt. How the hell did you manage to convince me to remain your pupil for so long? Stop complaining, Noldren says. My training worked, didn't it? You can't just do mock battles all the time. Expect to magically become a seasoned warrior. Real battles are where you truly get to test your skills. Are the monsters getting closer? Adric says. I can't really tell with my magic sense. They're most definitely getting closer, Kate says. In fact, we should be seeing them any minute. It looks like they're given up on trying to flank us from all sides because the large area without trees in front of us that can provide them cover. They're not trying to assemble in the woods besides us to the sides. At least they should keep them away from the tents when we fight, Hadrick says. The last thing we want to get our tents damaged when we are nowhere near a city to buy a replacement. Don't forget the discussion that we had from our last battle, Darren says. We're facing against a lot more enemies today, so we can't afford to make mistake, Layla. No more rushing into enemies' lines again. Kate, do you remember what you need to focus on? Yes, Kate says, I remember. We then shoot several icicles into the woods to our left side. 2 of the ogres suddenly drop dead from behind the trees. The 3 ogre warriors that were left alive are now all shouting loudly. They're advancing at us at a rapid pace. Seeing that their formation has been broken, the orcs that were hiding behind the trees on our right side are also revealing themselves, moving slowly towards us while forming a line with their shields raised in front of them and their maces in their right hand. Kid tries to attack the 3 ogres with another barrage of icicle, but this time they use the huge clubs to defend themselves from the projectiles. Flower dances fly up in the air and bombard the ogres with fireballs. They need to die before they reach us. I'm on it. A flower says as she jumps into the air and then propels herself upwards using a fire jet. The rest of us, you need to deal with the orcs, Darren says. They all have anti-magic armor, so don't bother to attack them if you're an elementalist. I need to kill the orcs then. Okay, while Darren was talking, Flower started to shoot fireballs at the 3 ogres that were still heading towards us. The monster tried to jump away from the explosion, but this left them defenseless against Kate's icicle, which penetrated their skulls, killing them on the spot. Good, Darren says. The ogres are quickly dead. Let's finish off the orcs and then we'll head for the mages. Use the crossbow to fight the orcs or the dagger? My combat technique is trash, so I think I'm gonna go with the dagger because my strength is fairly fucking high. Now we were talking, the orcs have split into 2 groups, each of them forming a wall with their shield and slowly advances towards us from both sides. The orc captain from our last battle is however nowhere to be seen. I'll take the one on the left, Noldren says as he head towards the monsters. There are 5 orcs on the left. Darren says while he starts following his old master into battle. I'm coming with you. Hardrick, you should be able to handle half of the warriors by himself without much trouble. He then sees Layla has remained behind, uncertain of what to do. Layla should go help Hardrick, Darren says. Master Noldren and I will be able to handle ourselves against 5 orcs. Layla nods and she goes towards the orcs on the right, following along with Hardrick. I'll go find the mages, Kate says. No, wait, Darren says. We shouldn't risk splitting up. There might be traps waiting for us in the woods. We all go together after we're done with the warriors. Understood, Kate says. Now Darren then heads into battle along with his masters. Hardrick and Layla are getting ready to fight the monsters on the right side. The first one to engage the enemy is Hardrick. He punches right through the orc shield wall on the right, putting a large dent into one of the monster's shield while knocking its holder on its back. Then he jumps high into the air and he lands with his fist on the second orc just as the monster raises his shield to protect himself. Sound made by Hardrick's fist hitting the metal shield resounded throughout the whole clearing. Immediately afterwards, we could hear the orc screams as his arm broke from all the pressure, while the warrior is still struggling to recover. Hardrick quickly grabs him by his feet and throws them into two of his comrades, which sends them all crashing to the ground. Meanwhile, Darren and Noldren have both reached the orcs on the left, and now they're flanking them from two sides, forcing the monsters to give up on their shield wall and to focus on the adversaries in front of them. As Noldren began to fight, I can definitely see the resemblance between his fighting style and the one Darren is using. However, Noldren style seems to focus a lot more on not getting hit at all, while Darren often likes to parry blows and to block them with his shield while he fights.